Hello and welcome back to Thunderquack Perfect 10, the podcast where we explore the pop culture masterpieces we love. I'm your host, Michael Cohen. You might be asking yourself, what exactly is a perfect 10? Simply put, a perfect 10 is a piece of pop culture media we love unconditionally. This isn't about review scores, it's about pure joy, because everything around here is a 10 out of 10 to us. Thank you to our Patreon producers, Curtis, Dan, Brian, Mark, and Sherston. Your support makes this podcast possible. Head to patreon.com/Thunderquack to get early access to Thunderquack Perfect 10, exclusive podcasts, and more. And good morning. In less than an hour, podcasters from here will join others from around Boston and New York, and we will be launching the most ridiculous deep dive in the history of mankind. Mankind, that word should have new meaning for all of us today. We can't be consumed by our petty differences anymore. We will be united in our common interests. Today may not be the 4th of July, but we will once again be fighting for our freedom. Not from tyranny, oppression, or persecution, but from boring movies that don't explode the White House. We are fighting for our right to live, to exist. And should we win the day, Perfect 10 will no longer be known as just another pop culture podcast, but as the podcast that declared in one voice, we will not go quietly into the night. We will not vanish without a fight. We're going to live on. We're going to survive. Today, we discuss Independence Day with Karl, LaClair, and Joe Hogan.
Yeah! You gotta put in a big applause wave sound effect. I'm the guy doing that hard salute right now.
Yeah, like the real, they're forceful, yeah.
With every muscle in his body, he salutes the president.
Listen, guys, this is a first. You've both been on Perfect 10 in the past, but this is the first time that I've had multiple guests on one episode of Perfect 10. But when I was planning out season 4, and originally this was the finale, this was our season finale, but the Meg got pushed to July, so that'll be our actual season finale. And this comes out like before July 4th, so we're kind of in a weird order, but it's fine. But when I decided that I wanted to do Independence Day, because of how much you guys love it, it was like I have to have both of them on at the same time. It's so funny because the episode comes out in June. Obviously, July 4th is in July. And we're recording this at the end of May, but it doesn't matter because it's always Independence Day in our hearts. Right?
Absolutely. Well, it works for Karl and I anyway, because June is our Independence Day season, we call it, where we literally hop on Discord as frequently as we can and just throw Independence Day on through the entire month of June leading up to July 4th. So 'tis the season. We actually just did it.
Yep.
We did our first one of the season already. So
that's fantastic. Well, I rewatched it this morning, along with Independence Day Resurgence.
That's 2 hours you're not getting back in your day, Mike.
Well, listen, I mean, it's not like I stopped everything and sat down and watched it. I just had it playing on my iPad while I was doing other things. But we will not be talking about Resurgence at all. This is the extent of it because that movie sucks.
I mean, you could do a new podcast called Perfect Zero and premiere with that. Yes.
It's so funny because every April we do our April Fool's episode. Me and Tyler do that, and we pick what is considered a bad movie, right? But they're bad movies that are they're good bad, right? Resurgence is just bad. Like it's not even good bad. Like so much of it is just completely unsalvageable. But I think by contrast, because Independence Day is pretty much a perfect movie. Like I don't know what you would do differently other than maybe let some of the women do something. But other than that, I have absolutely zero complaints about this movie. So, yeah, like Independence Day is just it's one of those movies that fits perfectly into the definition of perfect 10, because I think for those of us especially that were that age in 1996, I it's incomparable. Like this is why we go to the movies, right? Like this is why we'd sit with popcorn in the dark and watch movies together. So
yeah, I mean, it was like, because the three of us are essentially the same age, right? Like,
yeah,
Joe, you're an 86 baby. Mike, when were you born?
I'm 85.
Yeah, like me. Yeah, so we're both hitting our 40s this year. I
Yeah,
think you already
yeah.
did.
I just did.
Yeah, woof. Following right up
You're
behind you.
old.
But yeah, but you're right, Mike, right? Like, this movie came out at the perfect time. I mean, I think Jurassic Park was the first like film experience on the big screen where I was like, oh my gosh, like this is what a blockbuster is, right? Because like we'd obviously heard of Star Wars and Jaws, and I mean, we were obviously all Star Wars fans at this time, but we're still, at that point, half a year away from getting the special editions on the big screen. So Independence Day just like blew up the blockbuster scene again, and in a way that nothing had really since '93 with Jurassic Park. So yeah, like you're absolutely right, Mike. Like the three of us being 11 years old when this thing came. I was 5 days away from being 11 years old. So like kind of the perfect age to take in a movie like this. But I just remember like everyone, like my dad loved it, my uncles loved it.
Yeah.
Like it I mean, it really was like this, everybody come to the theater and experience this blockbuster, you know?
Absolutely. Before we get too deep into it, I just want to do our primer on exactly what Independence Day is. So let me get through that, and then we're gonna jump into it, because I want to specifically talk to you guys about like time and place and what your experiences were seeing this movie for the first time. But before we do that, what is Independence Day? Independence Day, colloquially known as ID4, or at least that's what all the posters wanted us to think, is a 1996 feature film directed by Roland Emmerich and starring, now hold on, because this is going to take a minute, Jeff Goldblum, Will Smith, Bill Pullman, Mary McDonnell, Vivica Fox, Margaret Collin, Judd Hirsch, Randy Quaid, Harry Connick Jr., Robert Loggia, Brent Spiner, Adam Baldwin, Harvey Fierstein, Ross Bagley, and Mae Whitman. That's not even everybody. Like there are other actors that are like basically like top billed actors in this. But those are what I did was I pulled out everybody that people would know of, like that would matter. But there are another like 8 actors that are like top billed in this movie, which is so funny to me because most of them are like not actually, like top billing actors. But anyways, I'm going to continue. Ushering in the modern disaster film, the story revolves around an impending attack from extraterrestrial aliens determined to exterminate the human race and strip the Earth of all its resources. If not for the efforts of 3 incredibly capable and attractive American men, all hope would be lost. Thankfully, a cable repairman, the Fresh Prince, and a president who also happens to be a fighter pilot managed to find the aliens' one weakness, exploit it, and save the world. No women necessary. Oh, and it all goes down on July 4th. So yeah, America, I guess. So grab some hot dogs and lemonade because it's time to celebrate Independence Day. That's what I know about Independence Day is like an American thing is you guys have like barbecues or something and then shoot guns in the air, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
being
Because
a
where in
Canadian,
America
it's
you live.
yeah.
Also, this movie was made by a German filmmaker,
Right.
so
Yeah.
Roland Emmerich.
Yeah. I yeah, I mean like I'm a little glib about the women thing, but really when you watch this movie, they are just there as like support characters for the men who have to do all of the things. And it's very 1996 of them, and like I don't really hold it against the movie, like that's just kind of where we were in 1996. But it is one of those things where like the longer I watched it, the more I was like, seriously, none of them are going to do anything. They're just going to be like, I'll hold your hand or pat you on the shoulder, or they're just kind of there as window dressing, or to die, and that's essentially it, which is just wild to me in 2025.
Vivica Fox shows some leadership skills, I would argue.
She does. You're right. The one character who is for no reason other than so that we can have one scene in the backstage of a strip club, she is an exotic dancer. Yeah, you're right. She does show a little bit of leadership.
Ballet, exotic.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so let's rewind. Let's go back to 1996. I want to hear from you guys.
Mike. I wish I could.
I want to hear from you guys where you were and what your experience was the first time around seeing Independence Day. Joe, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, I specifically remember seeing the commercials all over TV, being really excited about it, and my friend Paul, who would always come over, he lived across the street, was talking about Independence Day, and he's like, I think they curse in that movie. And my mom was like, I don't think I want you to see that movie now. And I was like, Paul, what's wrong with you? And eventually I was like, I promise if you take me to see this movie, I won't curse at all until I'm like 18. And my mom was like, all right, you have a deal. So she took me to see it. I don't think it was opening day, but I think it was like that Saturday, right? Like it came out on a Friday, and then I'm pretty sure this next day, maybe not, because if it was July, it might have been opening day, but it was like morning. So like I went the morning, whatever the first morning of, early screenings was. So maybe it was opening day. And we saw it, and she loved it. And then, just that was it. Like I just remember loving that movie, and there. I don't think the toys were like in the Toys R Us nearby, because that movie theater literally right next door was a Toys R Us, and I probably was like, "Oh, can we go to Toys R Us now?" And more often than not, my mom was like, "All right, you're a good kid. We can go to Toys R Us." And I didn't get any of the figures from Independence Day for a while after the movie, but I like wanted them. But yeah, I did end up getting the Steve Hiller figure at some point, and then Carl, the same like mini alien attack fighter that you have.
Yeah.
And I had the posters. The posters for this movie were awesome. Where it was just
so
like
good.
all the city destroy. There's the one city destroyer over the Empire State Building. There's the one where there's the fleet of them in space moving towards Earth, and they're all like diagonal and perpendicular to each other. No, parallel to each other. Like I had all of those posters. I had every single one of the posters that they released at the time. But yeah, I loved it. I wish that it was more like Star Wars, where like it was just there's so much stuff for Star Wars. Like, oh, now I'm gonna go play the video game. Now I'm gonna whatever. And I didn't have a PlayStation, and I don't think the game came out right away either. Anyway, but I didn't play the PS1 game, so because I didn't have a PS1 at the time. And it was just like the only way to play for me was to just watch the movie, and my imagination went crazy. It wasn't like Star Wars or Ghostbusters or anything else where it's just like, okay, well now I'm gonna play with all my action figures. But yeah, from day one I've loved this movie since maybe opening day. I don't remember when it was, but what about you, Carl?
Yeah, I mean, dude, I'm embarrassed to say that I don't actually remember the like specifics of the first time I saw it. So I just looked it up. So the movie came out on July the 3rd of 96, which was a Wednesday. So I don't know if that was maybe an early release date or what. I probably saw it that weekend, so I'm sure I saw it shortly after, but I do remember seeing it in a packed theater. And just like people cheering and going nuts for it. And like I said, I always had a weird relationship with my dad growing up, but my dad loved that movie, and it was really cool because I had never really enjoyed a movie with my dad before. So that was something that really stood out to me when I first saw it. Because my dad's an aerospace engineer, like absolutely loves like the history of military aircraft, knows a lot about them. So he was really revved up for all the like F-18 action, even if he was quick to point out how inaccurate a lot of it was. It was like, thanks, Dad. I don't care about the science. I'm not here for that. But yeah, I mean, it was just super fun, like being hyped for a movie with my dad for the first time. And like I have very vivid memories, Joe, of like also going hunting for the action figures. And I got my first couple at Kmart. You guys remember Kmart? Well, Mike, you may not have those in Canada.
We did at one point in time, but not. Okay. I don't think in 1996 they were still around.
Gotcha.
In Canada, but yeah.
But I don't know if you, Joe, obviously you and I have talked about this, but I'm curious, Mike, if you remember with the figures, when you bought them, it came with a floppy disk game.
Yes.
And that game was freaking impossible, man. Like I never knew what the hell I was doing. And I remember
each toy came with a different one.
Exactly.
Each one was different. Yeah.
Yep.
Every figure, every toy, like everything was a different floppy disk game.
Yeah. And it made no sense to me at all, but I tried it with every single figure I bought. I bought a bunch of the aliens before I ever bought any of the actual like characters. I think the only character figure I ever had was Steve Hiller. And right, like it was that time and place when action figure companies clearly didn't have the licenses for likenesses. I remember Jurassic Park did this as well. I'm sure you remember that, Mike. Right, where like it looks nothing like the character at all. I mean, yeah, Captain Stephen Hiller was a black man, but other than that, it looks nothing like Will Smith. But yeah, I mean, like anything at that age, you know, the movie was so exciting to see, but I mean, I think I only saw it one time in theaters because I mean, I was 10 years old. It's not like I could just drive to the theater to see it again. So yeah, like you had to kind of like live off the imagination of it with the toys you had. And I do remember this was one of the few things in my life where I ever used Star Wars toys to be something that weren't Star Wars. Because like there were so few Independence Day toys that I had to use some Star Wars toys to like flesh things out a bit. But yeah, man, like absolutely like just loved the hell out of this. What was it like for you, Mike? Like, was there as big of a to-do for it being, you know, Independence Day and like you said, kind of American centric?
Yeah.
What was it like for you in Canada?
Yeah. So, I mean, like movie releases are movie releases, right? Like that there's not really much of a cultural divide there. Like the big summer blockbusters are the same. We get them day and date with you guys. So it's always been that way. I like North America is one market, right? So, so yeah, like July 3rd, that Wednesday, I mean, it's summer vacation. So I was there. We were there opening night. I guarantee it. Because this was a big deal movie, right? And back then the way that I knew that stuff was coming was Disney Adventures, right?
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, so I was like hardcore about making sure every month that I got the new issue of Disney Adventures. 96 is probably around when they were winding down. Like that was towards the end of that being a thing. The internet killed it. But yeah, like I can picture it with Will Smith on the cover, right? And obviously Will Smith is hugely popular at that time because of Fresh Prince, because it's like one of the most popular shows on TV. This was really his first like big movie, right?
Other than Bad Boys, I think, right? Because I think he did the first Bad Boys.
I think I think Bad Boys is like just before this, but like Bad Boys is one of those things where it's like that was that was like a risk, right? Like it was like the whole concept of that movie. That was like, oh, like, and it was not for our age, right? Like that was so outside of that like my sort of awareness, but yeah, it was like, oh, what are the big movies of 1996? And like Independence Day was going to be the biggest one, and it was impossible. Like you couldn't get away from it, right? It was I'm pretty sure there was like McDonald's tie-ins and all of that. Like it was, the commercials were relentless. The trailer was everywhere. Every time you went to the movies, they were like, hey, check it out, we blew up the White House. Just over and over and over and over and over again. And so yeah, this would have been one of those ones where I was like, Dad, we are going to this on opening night. And yeah, I can't say that I remember specifically opening night and what that experience was, because this is like just soon after about a year after I had moved to Penticton, which is in the interior, so small town, and we had like this little tiny rinky-dink theater called the Penmar, and so like the screens were, this is like an old theater, right? They only had 4 screens in the entire theater, and they were smaller than the smallest screen in a multiplex by a long shot. And I had grown up in Vancouver and was used to going to like very nice, state of the art movie theaters at the time to see the big blockbuster summer releases. This was the first summer that I was in Penticton, right? So
slumming it.
Yeah, so I know that we saw it on opening weekend, but what I remember more than seeing it on opening weekend was probably about 2 or 3 weeks later, after I'd seen it 2 or 3 times in the theater, cuz the one upshot of that little rinky-dink theater is that matinee tickets were $2. Like going to the movies was not a problem. It was like, hey, can I go to the movies on Sunday? And my dad would be like, yeah, here you go. Here's $2. Like, see you later. And it was about a 15-minute walk from my house. So yeah, I mean, like, I would just like, me and my friends would just be like, we'll meet you at the theater, and we would just go and just like watch a movie at 1:00 in the afternoon. There is nothing better to me in the world than a matinee movie. I love going into the movie theater at noon or 1:00 and coming out and the sun is still out. Like, it just, because you just feel like you've like you're getting away with something, right? Because normally you go to the movies and it's dark, it's dark out, and it's like, and then we're gonna go home and go to bed. But when you do it, when you go in the middle of the day, you're like, there's something like subversive or transgressive about it, where it's like, yeah, man, this is how much I love movies. But the experience that I remember more than seeing it in Penticton was we came down to Vancouver for a few days. We were here for like, I don't know, maybe like 3 or 4 days. And I some friends of my parents, they hadn't seen it yet, and like, these are like the people that we always used to go to the movies with, that I saw Jurassic Park with, that like all the big blockbuster movies, this is sort of like the friends of the family that I would have done that with. And so while we were down, it was like, oh, let's go see Independence Day. I can see it on like a real screen. And we did in downtown Vancouver, and that screening, this would have been like a couple weeks later, right? It's like everybody in this theater, it was packed. It was still packed weeks later. And this was like another like Saturday afternoon sort of thing. Like, it was definitely a matinee. But the theater was packed. The crowd was like so into it, because you could tell that most people had seen this movie more than once already. that like we were back. Like, it's like, because back then it's like you couldn't even watch clips on the internet, right? Like the best you could manage was like maybe if Entertainment Tonight showed something, or there was a commercial, right? You see the little clips during the middle of the McDonald's commercial, and you'd be like, man, I really want to go see that movie again. But yeah, I think Independence Day is probably the first movie that I saw more than 5 times in a theater during its run, because we were just there like every weekend while it was still in the theaters, because you're like, well, it's not going to be out on video for like 6 months to a year, right? And I think with this one, it was probably like, they probably held it back so that it would be like close to summer again when they released it on VHS. And so yeah, like it like you knew that it was going to be forever before you got to see this movie again. Because back then, for younger listeners, a movie would come out in the theater, and then it would run for a couple of weeks, maybe, if you were lucky, right? If it was a big hit, maybe for a month. And then it would disappear, and the next time that you would get to see that movie would be when they did like a network premiere of it, right? Like either on Fox, ABC, or NBC. And I'm pretty sure that this one was Fox, because why would it be one of those other networks? Well, I guess the movie is 20th Century Fox, right? So yeah, it would have been on Fox. So yeah, like I can like picture the promos for when this would have been like a network premiere on Fox, and usually they had some sort of like a weird thing that would go along with that of like, oh, there's 5 extra minutes of footage or something like that. I don't know, I don't remember what they did for Independence Day, but they definitely did something of that sort. And then it would eventually come out on VHS. And I would grab it on VHS. But the toys are like a total blind spot for me because I never saw them. Like they did not make their way up here. There's certain things that just never really they just never really made it across the border. And I think like toys that did like smaller toy runs, that's one of those things. I actually bring up a lot the Robin Hood Prince of Thieves, the Kevin Costner movie, because everybody was like all about it, and like the movie sucks, but everybody was all about that movie that summer.
I love that movie.
A lot of people do, but the toys were rad because there was like a sword that made noises. It was like one of the first big, like sort of like sound, like motion activated type of toys, and I wanted it so bad, but we never got any of those toys in Vancouver. And I only ever saw it one time in Seattle when we went down for something, and my parents refused to buy me a weapon because they knew that I would just hit my brothers with it.
Mm-hmm.
And they weren't wrong. They weren't wrong, but I will hold it against them. So yeah, like the toys for this, I don't know that I've ever seen an Independence Day toy in person. Carl, you've been posting pictures of your little alien spaceship, your alien fighter, in our group chat, and it's like, I really wish I had one of those.
To be fair, I actually didn't have that as a kid. I bought that off eBay a couple of years ago when Joe and I first I don't remember when Joe and I really started watching this a lot, and like Independence Day season became a thing for us, but it's been a couple of years now. But it was a few years back when Joe and I were just like really getting into it. I was like, damn, I really wish I still had some of the toys. And I just like went to eBay one night and bought a whole bunch of them because I didn't have any of them from when I was a kid anymore. So, and I never had the fighter, and I was so excited to get it. I think it was like $20. Like I love it. And it came with like so much extra stuff too. So I was like, oh, this is great.
That's awesome. That's awesome. What did, like, you say you don't really remember exactly how it happened, but why, guys? Why? You watch this movie every year multiple times,
dude.
Like, what is it? Why?
It's just there's something like cozy and comfortable about it, even though it's a disaster. You know what it is? It really is just like a feel good movie by the end of it. Like, even though it's completely unrealistic that an alien invasion would be completely thwarted in 3 days. Like, I don't know. There's just something. It's just I just associate it with my childhood, and like I remember at one point when I was younger, I think the VHS had come out at this point, and it was like a Saturday night. It was in the summer, so it must have been like the year after. And I remember it was like starting to get a little bit dark, and I put the VHS on, and the lighting from outside started to get like the sun was going down, but also like storm clouds were coming in, and I was just like, ooh, it's like the UFOs above my house right now. This is so cool and immersive. And I don't know, like it's just like embedded in my psyche that it's just cozy, wonderful, nice times in my life I associate with this movie. So it's just one of those movies, and like it's really funny. Like, it still holds up. We watched it a million times, and we keep finding things every time we watch it. There's a lot of layers to it.
Yeah, and I think for me, even before Joe and I like discovered our shared love for this, which wasn't long after our discovered love for Ghostbusters, because I think the Ghostbusters movies and this are definitely the most watched movies that Joe and I enjoy together. Like, we'll just hop on Discord on a remote work day or just hanging out on the weekend, or it's a crummy day. It's like, all right, which what are we doing? ID4, GB1 or GB2? Like, and I think the reason I still love this movie so much is a lot of what you said, Joe, is obviously just the nostalgia of it. But more than that, it is such a warm-hearted movie. And even though it is this disaster flick, and then, as you alluded to, right, Mike, in your introduction, right, this kind of kicked off a new wave of disaster films that would obviously be hit or miss over the years. But Independence Day, and I think it was just something about the mid 90s. And again, I'm 10 to 11 years old at this time, but there was just such a warmth to it. And there was this sense of optimism that, like as silly as it is, these intergalactic invaders show up and within 3 days we've defeated them. But there's this overwhelming sense of optimism in the movie that warms my soul, and it still does. And you're right. I think we've gotten into an era of movie making, even within blockbusters, where everything has to be so serious and so dire and often so bleak. And I think a movie like Independence Day certainly acknowledges the fact that, yes, this is a disaster film. Lots of people are killed, but we're not mired in that bleakness. We are constantly elevated beyond that to just say, like, look what we can do when we work together. Right. And I think for me, that's why this movie continues to hold up, whether I'm watching it with Joe or even watching it by myself. It just like, to quote, our boy Yoda, it brings warm feelings to my heart. Like every time I watch this movie, I just feel warm. And like that's something I really appreciate about this movie after still all of these years. And something that was really cool, Mike, was I think this was 3 years ago now. No, more than that. Because it was before COVID, right, Joe, when you came out here to see it on the big screen? I think that
feel like that was
it was after COVID, so maybe 2022 or something. Either way, yeah, Mike, there's a small independent theater here in the Boston area that often will show old movies, and just randomly, and it was the year before, like, because it was weird. It was not like a 20th anniversary or 25th. It was like some weird in-between year, but they were showing it there. So Joe and his fiance Tina came up, and the three of us went together, and the theater was not like completely sold out, but it was definitely full. And the thing that was so cool, Mike, was this is a movie that was 20 plus years old, and people were just, man, it was like being in their opening night again. Like people were cheering along. Like you said, Joe, folks were laughing at the jokes. There was a woman sitting in front of us who I swear to God had never seen the movie, and her reactions were priceless. It was so good. So yeah, right. Like when you talk to people about this movie, it's I have yet to experience somebody like, oh man, that movie's trash, I hate it, right? Like maybe people don't, love it like Joe and I do, or you, Mike, but people tend to have such a sense of warmth for this movie because I think that's the atmosphere it captures.
Yeah, it is definitely, I think, of like that time and place in the 90s where, whether it was true or not, I think that we had all kind of convinced ourselves that it was never going to get better, like that we had solved everything, right? Like, oh, racism's not a problem anymore. Oh, gay people are okay, right? It's like there was just like this attitude in the mid to late 90s that like we did it, guys. The utopia, like we figured it out. And obviously that is a perspective whenever I bring this up, because this comes up a lot on Perfect 10. The idea of like that's kind of what the 90s felt like. That is what the 90s felt like if you were like middle income white person, which like that's us, right? So
right, sure.
I think that this movie it kind of almost like epitomizes that. Like it very clearly is a product of that sort of thinking, especially like the American exceptionalism kind of idea, right? Which was so prevalent in the 90s, to the degree that like it wasn't just Americans who thought it, right? Like right now in 2025, a lot of Americans still have that feeling. Like they still kind of talk like oh yeah, America's the best country in the world, right? But the rest of the world is kind of like, you guys do some stuff real well, but you got a lot of problems, but in the mid 90s, there was very much like all of the culture was coming from the US. All of the like the media and everything was coming from there, and everybody wanted to be a part of it. And I think like it's all, this is all sort of like post USSR, like we did it, we won the Cold War. And I think like that just kind of carried through the mid 90s. and at the point that this movie came out, it was like, oh, everybody's gonna work together now, right? Like like global peace, you know, like as long as you weren't paying too much attention to the actual news, you could believe that on a day-to-day basis, right? And you know, when we look back in retrospect, it's like, no, there was a lot of really, really terrible stuff going on in the 90s if you weren't in that, you know, white middle income sort of bracket. Or you know, if you like, rich people also had it pretty good, not as good as they have it right now, but like pretty good. But yeah, it this movie, the whole time that I was watching it, and you know, like it's just like, oh, the can-do attitude and the sort of like everything's got a one-liner and a wink at the camera. I was like, this is such a like mid 90s, like America is the best. And it's so funny because, as you pointed out, Joe, like this is from a German director, right? But that's kind of almost case in point of what I'm talking about. That like everybody was of the opinion that America was the best, right? When the Olympics would roll around, it was like, oh, America's going to win everything. You know, even if that wasn't true, we just kind of like had that feeling. Um, so yeah, it occupies that space, and that like we had that same vibe up here in Canada of like everything's pretty great. There's really not a lot to complain about. No, we're not at war actively with anybody. Everybody, you know, like the economy is pretty okay. Everybody is fairly happy. So, um, yeah, it's funny because a few years later, I think things start to get more complicated, and then 2001 hits and 9/11 hits, and we've just been on like that. We've just been on that like cynical decline since then, right? Like movies have just gotten more and more and more um not depressing isn't really the word for it, but it's just like everything is so bleak. I think you might have said that, Carl. That like it's just like the outlook is not optimistic. The outlook is not we can do it. The outlook is I mean, Resurgence is a perfect example of this. Resurgence doesn't end on we did it. Resurgence ends on we know where they are and now we have bigger guns and we're going to go kick their asses. Like literally the movie ends with Brent Spiner like, let's go kick their alien asses.
Let's go kick some alien ass.
Like that's the end of that movie, and that's such a different thing from the end of this movie, which is like is very uplifting and very hopeful. Um, when that music hits at the end, like over the credits, you're like, yeah, man, we can do anything. We could defeat aliens in 3 days. But when Resurgence ended, it was just like, well, that was a thing that I just did to myself. I like it's just totally different, even though the beats are the same. The beats are so similar, right? But the results is just so much more kind of like bummer, you know. And it all just feels like they're just trying to kind of replicate what was done without really like getting it. But that's what all the disaster action movies that came out after this one, that's kind of what it all felt like every time they blew something up. When you know Day After Tomorrow or 2012 came out, like it was just like, this isn't Independence Day, guys. Like you don't got it, you don't got the magic. And those are Roland Emmerich movies as well, I'm pretty sure. I think he did both of those. Like they kept trying to recapture it, but there was something really special about this movie. I think so much of it is the cast. I think so much of it is those three core characters that it's just like such a place in time. This is probably one of my favorite Jeff Goldblum roles. It's really hard to say, like, because obviously Ian Malcolm in Jurassic Park is like, it's such a contender, but he's not in very much of that movie when you really look at it in the original. But that character is great. And then there are other like weird choices with Jeff Goldblum that I could bring up, like Earth Girls Are Easy, that I really love him in. But this is the one where it's like, I mean, I put in my notes, Jeff Goldblum has never been sexier than he is in this movie. The unbuttoned shirts with the undershirt underneath, like it just, and his hair is just like so perfectly uncoiffed coif. Like it's just so perfectly like you spent 45 minutes making your hair look messy, didn't you? And the glasses and he's just in like peak physical
Mike,
condition.
you're forgetting the
It's
most intricate part of his wardrobe. Take a look at my necklace.
Take a look at my necklace.
He's got such a sexy choker. Those were so
Yeah.
big in the 90s. Well, I guess it's not a choker. It's a little loose.
Like a surfer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, I say let's bring it back. Let's bring it back. I say that we
guys,
should all have a
I
hot
mean,
Levinson summer.
I work at a college campus. The 90s wardrobe is back. It's really weird. Jeans are baggy again. The heels are clunky. It's wild. But yeah, no, this is the perfect summer to bring fit Goldblum back. Let's do it.
Yeah. He is just such a treat in this movie. I feel bad for Bill Pullman, who was previously like a heartthrob in movies, right? Like he's often, rom-com or, like that sort of thing. He's the sexy, but not aggressively so kind of leading guy. But
he's the
then
hot dad in Casper.
There you go. But then Jeff Goldblum shows up on set looking like this, and you're just like,
well,
my God, And then Will Smith is Will Smith. He's like at the height of his power in this, right? I mean, maybe not quite the height, like the next summer is Men in Black.
Well, and I also think that's a really cool, like, quick little behind the scenes tidbit is the fact that, right, like you said, Mike, right? He's big at this point in American homes on sitcoms because of Fresh Prince, but I believe it was Roland Emmerich who really wanted him in the cast, but there was a lot of pushback from the studio because they're like, no, we can't market this with a black lead, right? Like there was still that sense, like you said, Mike, like obviously we as middle class white folks, like we obviously have some blinders up to the fact that this was not the lived experience of everyone in 1996.
Yeah,
but like and this is case in point, right? Like even these movie executives were very hesitant, even though he was a big star at the time. They were very hesitant, but Emmerich pushed back and said, no, I want him in this part. And this was the role, like you said, Joe, I don't know if Bad Boys had quite come out yet, but Bad Boys was also, it wasn't as widely marketed, right? It wasn't a blockbuster. And I think this was the movie, thanks to Roland Emmerich, that really launched Will Smith's career. And right, we've obviously seen him come full circle. He loves punching things in the face like aliens or comedians. But like, oh man. But yeah, I mean, this I do think that's really neat and worth noting, the fact that him being cast as the star. And actually, Joe, you may know this because you've watched it even more than me. Who do you feel like has the most screen time of the main three actors? Because in the billing, Will Smith is the first cast member listed in the rolling cast list in the closing credits, but I don't know that he has the most screen time.
I think he has the least amount.
That's what I would think too. Yeah,
I think it's David. I would argue David is the main character of this movie. If we had to pick one character, it's David.
So let me ask both of you this, just as a quick side note, because I think it's worth asking. Do you feel that any of the characters have an arc in this movie, right? Of those main three, right? The president, Captain and Stephen Hiller and David, do any of those three characters really have an arc, or do you feel like they're pretty, linear throughout the story?
I do think that David does have an arc in the sense that like he is very is sort of like singularly focused at the beginning. I to his detriment, and there's the whole aspect of the sort of like being estranged from his ex and all of that. By the end of it, they get back together, and it's not necessarily played as like, oh, this is just because of like the shared trauma sort of thing, but more so that like him stepping into this role and taking charge and being the guy who saves the world, really. It like this is why she left him, right? Is because he was just like, he had all this potential, and he was just we joke, cable repairman, right? But he was just working for the TV network, doing whatever technical stuff, right? but obviously could have been doing so much more. So the fact that like he sort of steps into that, and becomes that person that she saw the potential for, is like there's a bit of an arc there. It's a little bit of like a he doesn't really change, he just does stuff, right? Like it's, I don't know that he has like a there's not a hero's journey here, right?
Sure.
He didn't find an elixir and bring it back to the village or anything like that, but there is definitely a component of him sort of like coming into his his purpose a little bit more. And I think that like through his father and through his relationship, like sort of the because they're foils, right? Bill Pullman, as President Whitmore, and then David Levinson. They're at odds, but they're also like, the reason why they don't get along is because of how similar they actually are. And so like there's a little bit of like push and pull there that by the end of it he overcomes. But yeah, like an arc, it's pretty flat. It's still a pretty flat arc. Um, Will Smith's character, Captain Stephen Hiller, absolutely no arc there. He is the same dude at the beginning of the movie that he is at the end of the movie. And I think that the president is also the same guy. The only difference is that he is like, I'm not gonna just, um, sit back and listen anymore. I'm gonna take charge, right? So that he kind of has that moment after his wife dies where he's like, I'm gonna get into this now.
Can we just take just a quick moment of acknowledgement though for the fact though that on the screen there is a president that both listens and takes effective action? It's just nice to think about, in these days, sure. Right?
Yeah.
The idea of having a competent, intelligent person in the White House
sounds unrealistic.
I know. Sounds like fantasy.
Yeah, definitely the last decade or so has been a little bit tumultuous in that respect, hasn't it?
I think we could argue though that Russell Case has a character arc.
Absolutely.
For sure.
For sure.
By the end of the movie, he's like such a he's an alcoholic and can't get his shit together. Do we curse on this mic? I forget.
You're fine. You're fine.
Okay.
PG-13 is fine.
Okay. And we kind of start to realize why, like he was abducted by aliens. And if you read the comic, which Carl was kind enough to give me, I didn't have it as a kid. The comic actually has like all of the backstory. Like it has the fist fight between Whitmore and David in the beginning of it. There's like an issue 0 and then everything from the film. We see Russell getting abducted by aliens and then becoming an alcoholic and neglecting his family and his like everything just like falling into ruins in his personal life. But it's cool to see him go from this total screw up, he's literally the town drunk, everybody makes fun of him, to by the end of the movie, he sacrifices himself and is basically the key to figuring out how to save humanity other than David. It's David and Russell are like the big variables in that formula. So
and also worth noting that like Russell Case has one of the best themes in the movie too, right? Musically speaking, and I don't want to get into it maybe right now, Mike, unless you want me to, but I mean, I love the music in this movie. It's so good. And there are essentially 3 main themes. And one of them is Russell Case's theme. And it's so good. And right, you first hear it when he's first introduced, you have this glorious scene as he's flying through, dusting the fields. And then as soon as he lands, you're like, oh, wait a minute. This guy doesn't fit that theme. But by like you said, Joe, by the end of the movie, he does. Like he is that hero. And Mike, I think you'll appreciate this. I don't know if Joe, you're much. I'm not a big Star Trek guy by any stretch, but that was something I always kind of found similar with Star Trek First Contact. That's one Star Trek movie I really enjoy. But the guy Cochrane or whatever who invents warp speed, right? He's also kind of this goofy drunk who's immortalized in the future generations, right? And it creates this really cool story point in First Contact where, all of the Enterprise crew is lauding him like he's a god, and he's just like, I'm a broken drunk who just stumbled across this thing. And it just makes me think of like Russell Case, because Joe, I think that this is in fact, so Mike, as you obviously know, Joe and I love the hell out of Independence Day lore. We've read all the books. Yes, folks, there are books, and they're good. But one book that we really liked, it's Independence Day Crucible, which was a prequel novel to Resurgence, and it bridged the gap from 96 to 2016 when that movie was going to be, and it introduced all the new characters, but more importantly, it gave us the full stories of, the folks from the story as well. And I'm almost positive that there's a reference to the fact that there is a Russell Case High School or something.
Yeah.
So, right. He does become immortalized in culture because of that. And I mean, I messaged this in our group earlier, but yeah, that novel rocked. And then we saw the movie and we were like, damn
it. Well, speaking of the novels, you guys, I in prep for this, you were talking about them, and I had noted that Brackish Oaken was my favorite character from the movie, and you guys are like, well, there's a whole prequel novel about him, like his origin story, and I managed to track down. This is so funny because it's like these were not recorded as audiobooks, and nobody's going back and doing them now. So somebody took the text from the book and put it through a text to speech tool, and then put the whole 6 hours on YouTube, and I listened to it. I listened to the whole 6 hours, and it's actually pretty good. Like,
right?
It's a really good prequel to like it really, it doesn't answer any questions necessarily. It just like puts you in his shoes, and like, and so when you get there in the movie to Area 51 and you get introduced to Oaken, you're like, well, no wonder he's so excited. He's been at this for however long, and these other scientists have been at it since the 50s, and now all of a sudden everything is starting to work, and there's real stuff going on. So it really like informs all of that. But it was really funny because I was like, this is actually a really, really cool prequel novel that is honestly just a Area 51 fanfic. Like that's what it is. But it just happens to tie in to the film. But here's my question about Silent Zone, which is the novel, because maybe it's just that I wasn't paying enough attention, and because it was an audiobook playing on YouTube, I didn't really like go back on anything. Do they ever explain the Y shape thing? Because there's nothing in the movie about the Y shape that's like such a big deal in the book, that it's like, was it just like that it was the distress signal or whatever, and like that was it? Do you guys remember? Am I bringing up something that is not fresh in your memories?
The Y shape thing? I'm not sure.
Yeah, there's a visual that he keeps getting of like this of like a Y shaped object, that, and it comes up over and over in the book, and then I didn't feel like they really resolved it. I don't know. The book kind of just ends. It's kind of funny. It's going and going and going, and then like they go into the caves or whatever, and find these mummified ancient alien corpses in there, and then the aliens show up, and then Oaken falls down and goes unconscious, and then it's just like he wakes up in the hospital, and they're like, yeah, you were fine, and your alien artifact that you were wearing around your neck as a necklace, they gave it back to you. But there's no explanation to it, and it's really weird because it almost paints them as not bad guys, but then in the movie it's like, oh, they're very much all bad guys and only bad guys. They're the worst guys. And then Resurgence like doubles down on it, and they're like, Resurgence is like, oh, they're all the absolute worst. Like the entire universe is trying to figure out how to stop these assholes from screwing everything up, like from going to planet. But yeah, the book like Silent Zone kind of made it seem like, oh, there might be like not different factions necessarily, but like not all of them are like necessarily as intent on the extermination of human beings. Obviously, like these science aliens that have been studying humans for however long seem to be cool with us. Like they're not just murdering, right? Like they're just being scientists about it. I thought that was really interesting, but then like the movies have no, like they don't care for that at all. There's no nuance to it. They're just movie monsters.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I will say one thing that I really liked from Silent Zone is the fact that you have that experience. I can't remember if it's Oaken who has that telekinetic connection, or if it's that other character who's like a military guy, um, who was at Area 51 prior to Oaken. I think it was that guy. But he gets a sense of what these aliens, where they're coming from, like not like emotionally necessarily, but like where they're physically coming from. And he has this like telekinetic vision of them essentially like eating each other, crawling over each other, like kind of like scrapping for these last remaining resources. So, right, that line that Whitmore gives us in the movie about how, right, they move from planet to planet, consuming resources. Wherever they're coming from last, they've used everything up and they're kind of clamoring for survival. And that's what drives them to Earth, which I just thought was really, it was just kind of neat to see that, because that novel doesn't necessarily, like you were saying, Mike, it doesn't really give any profound answers, but it digs just a little bit more under the surface, which I could appreciate. And that novel Crucible, which, like I said, it bridges the gap between, this perfect movie and then that absolute dud of a movie. It does, you get a little bit more in that as well about some of the alien stuff, which is kind of neat. I think something else that made this movie work so well is this movie came out just a couple of years after X-Files hit the airwaves, right? And X-Files was this television show that really just got people excited again about kind of like alien and UFO mythology. And I think Independence Day really leans into that. And that's one of the things I really enjoy about the movie is it really plays with a lot of the tropes that kind of American social discourse has had since really, the late 40s, early 50s around UFO stuff. And I've always found UFO stories in America to be kind of similar to Japan's stories of Godzilla, right? Like the Godzilla story it's a reaction story to America dropping nuclear weapons on Japan, right? It's this unwanted side effect. And in an interesting way, I feel like American uh, cultural understanding of making sense of the fact that they've created these weapons that can wipe out all of humanity, all of a sudden aliens start showing up over American soil, right? Like it's really neat how America itself also tried to make sense of how we created these instruments of death and who might be watching us now, right? Who might be paying attention. And I like that this movie kind of plays with a lot of those tropes and a kind of around UFO stuff and alien abduction. And like I said, right, like with it having this crossover with X-Files. I mean, in fact, I can't remember his first name, but Baldwin, the guy who Adam Baldwin, right, who's in this movie, he's a villain in X-Files as well. That was really popular. So I think this movie really kind of like it found that current in pop culture stream, and it just kind of set itself right in with it, and I think that helped lead to its success.
Yeah, absolutely. It's part of part of that zeitgeist of UFOs caught on tape and the X-Files and all of that stuff. I mean, Joe, you and I think we did a full episode of Off the Record a while back about our obsession with this stuff in the 90s. So yeah, it really like it hits in that zone. I think one of the things that I love about the movie the most is that stuff scared the crap out of me when I was that age, right? Like I was like genuinely like terrified that one day I was going to be abducted by aliens, and that they were like, that this was a legitimate and super real concern, to keep you up at night. And kind of like I talk about this with Ghostbusters, right? Like one of the reasons why I think that Ghostbusters hits with kids is that um it gives you a solution to the monster under your bed, right? Like things go bump in the night, and everybody tells you that they're not real, but you know what, if they are real, it's fine, because if you have a proton pack, you can handle it. And I think similarly this movie goes like, well, if aliens do show up, don't worry, because we'll figure it out, we'll handle it, right? And so I think like that's kind of part of the rah thing of it, is just that like the I'm gonna use a big fancy $20 word, the alterity of it, right? Like the otherness of these aliens that are coming from outside of our understanding, right? They don't even speak, they use this ESP in order to communicate, They have mirrors over their eyes, so you couldn't even like visually like communicate with them in in that way of like looking into their eyes, because it's you look into their eyes and all you just see is a reflection. So like they went to such lengths to make them so other, right? Like so outside of our understanding, that it's like that's what you're fighting. And so like from like that sort of mythic or thematic perspective, like the movie is not just about this is what Resurgence completely misses, right? Is that like they're not just monsters. They are almost like the shadow of ourselves, right? The thing that concerns us about their behavior is the thing that we're doing to our own planet, right? They are us if we continue down the path that we're on. Like that's the idea behind them as villains. And so I think like when we conquer them, when we defeat them, it's like there is very much that part of it that you are defeating your shadow self.
Well,
um
and right, and like, how do we defeat them? Well, like, I mean, it's very simplistic in a lot of ways with this movie, but I
mhm.
appreciate it. How do we defeat it? Well, by coming together and believing the scientists. Oh, shocking! What an idea. Like, again, like, to me, all
Yeah.
these really common sense, on the nose themes that the average American today seems to just not understand anymore. It's kind of pathetic. But yeah, I mean, this movie is so hokey and almost corny, which is part of what I love about it. Is it's like, yeah, we could easily destroy ourselves, or we could find common ground and actually be capable of pretty incredible things. And this movie kind of just dares to be cheesy enough to be like, yeah, we can do anything together, right? Like, it's. I think we can always be in need of that reminder.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think so as well. This is the thing, is that if you get into a conversation like what we're having right now with a lot of people in 2025, they will start to go down the road of like, yeah, but that's not realistic. That's not what the world is like. And they'll start like going on that side of it, and that is like that cynical perspective, right? But movies and storytelling, they're not meant to be a duplication of real life, right? They're meant to be reflective. They're meant to be something like a mirror that we hold up and we look at ourselves. And sometimes it is to go like, oh, look at how awful we are as human beings. But it's also, and I think more effective and more important when we use stories to remind ourselves of what we're capable of, right? Like that actually uh that cynical real world perspective is not helpful. It is actually helpful to be a little bit unrealistic. It is helpful to watch a movie like this, feel rah about like we can do anything, and then go out and like try and change the world, because like that's the only way that it gets better. We don't it doesn't get better by us going like, and everything sucks, so why bother, right? Like there's a component there that I think in storytelling we don't get to see very often right now. And I said this on the last episode of Perfect 10 when we were talking about the Rocketeer, which is similarly like very, like rah Americana hopeful. Like, wow, we're gonna punch Nazis and stuff. And it's like I think we could use more of that stuff right now. And I hope we're on the cusp of it. I hope that like I don't know if you guys have seen Thunderbolts, but Thunderbolts feels like it's kind of like leaning towards that future. And I'm really hoping that like some of these superhero movies that are coming, Superman, Fantastic Four, that's gonna be the tone. Is not like this sort of cynical you know everything is loss and pain and all of that sort of thing, but that like if we come together we can actually overcome things. We can make the world a better place, but we just have to work together and put aside our differences and remember that we're all human beings, because it's what they don't want us to remember, that right, like that you talk about politics today, like they work so hard to make us see our neighbors as, I mean, like what we see in this movie, like with the aliens, right? Like that's what they want. It's how they want you to feel about the person across the street from you, right? They want you to be like scared of and worried that, oh, like they're gonna take what I have. But movies like this and a lot of the movies from the 90s were very much like, it is a little bit hokey, and it is a little bit like kumbaya, let's all, you know, like sit around the campfire and hold hands. But honestly, I feel like we kind of need it right now. Like that's what we need more than anything else. This is not about like tolerating the intolerant. Like that's not what I'm talking about. It's not like, oh, like we need to really like bring these Nazis back into the fold. No. Everybody who's not a Nazi just needs to get on the same side. That's what I'm saying, right? If you're a fascist, you get punched in the face. But if you're not a fascist, then it would be appreciated if everybody could, like, you know, come over to the same side of the fence so that we can all, you know, tell the fascists how wrong they are for being who they are, right? But like I think that storytelling is a really great way of reminding people of that potential, and reminding people of you know, like the fact that like that we all have so much more in common than not, right? I've said this for a long time, as the world continues to get worse and worse. I really believe that most people, the vast majority, 90 to 99% of human beings, they really just want the same thing. We all just want the same thing, which is just like to be safe, happy, healthy, right? And to have a future for the next generation. It's how we get there that we all end up fighting about. But this movie, it's in the speech. It's in Whitmore's speech, right? Like, we have to put aside our petty differences. And you know, stop the squabbling and stuff like that. And I really feel like that's such a good message for right now, of like, stop worrying about things that other people do that are not the choices that you would make for yourself, right? Because that's where we're at, is that like everything is about, well, I wouldn't do that. Is it cool? Then don't. Like, nobody cares, right? But we're just like, we're stuck in all this rhetoric, and I think that the movies that we watch, the TV shows that we watch, things like The Last of Us and Andor, right, that are these very like cynical, bleak, depressing looks at humanity, like they just further to like put us into those silos and make us go like, well, the only person I can rely on is myself. And that to me is like such a bad lesson to be learning, because it's the opposite of what it needs to look like, you know? So people should just be watching Independence Day all the time, I think, is what I'm saying. And
Amen.
nothing else.
I mean, some of us,
amen.
Some of us do, especially now that June's just around the corner.
That's right. Yeah. Tis the season, the most wonderful time of the year.
Yeah, I mean, like, when this episode comes out, we'll be firmly in the midst of, as you guys call it, Independence Day season. So.
I mean, as this episode comes out, Joe and I will probably just be watching the movie already. So
yeah,
you know,
yeah, I awesome. We have talked about so much of the movie without really going in order. Is there anything else that you guys want to hit on that is like
yes,
core to this? Go ahead, Carl.
And I know I feel like Joe will probably want to get in on this as well. But man, this is one of the best openings of a movie ever. Like, Act 1 of this movie is flawless, right? From that opening shot, which I love the homage to A New Hope, right? With this massive alien ship coming over your head, cue up the cool alien theme. You know, from the get-go, this movie is relentless in its buildup of tension. You know, right, Steven Spielberg famously did this with Jaws, right? You build up the tension by showing very little very quickly, and Independence Day very much follows that. And, you know, you said this earlier, Mike, right? That the heart and soul of this movie is, in fact, the cast. And they take the time in Act 1, as this tension is building, you're also getting to know these characters, and you're falling in love with these characters. And that's certainly that is the magic of this film that is particularly absent in the sequel, right? Like, you just never really get into those characters. But this movie it's as it builds that tension and it's introducing you to the characters. As soon as that alien ship opens and strikes for the first time, the stakes could not be higher. Yeah. So like, just the way this movie, it builds over the first like really 40 minutes. I mean, I want to say it's between 40 to 50 minutes into the movie till they actually attack for the first time. But yeah, it is just flawless.
Yeah, absolutely. The way the tension builds through the whole movie is it's very like the boiling frog, right? In the boiling water the whole time. It's just like, well, we know something's wrong, but we need to wait. We need to wait and see what's happening. And by the time they realize just how wrong things are, that frog is boiled, man. It's like it is too late. I don't know. I love the way this film, and if I'm remembering correctly, I think it's the last Hollywood film to do this. I think the compositing in this movie is so good for the most part. There's only like one or two shots that I really like, really bothers me, which anyone who's not familiar with compositing is, it's when they shoot footage, but then they take other footage and kind of, put them together. So, the White House, and then they have, they film a model of the city destroyer and composite the city destroyer into the shot, right? Like that's compositing in film. It's I feel like this is the last big Hollywood movie that uses models to that degree, right? Because CGI kind of came along not long after and was a little. I mean, this movie has some CGI, but it's very, very reliant on the models in it. And like the White House blowing up is not CGI. It's a mod. They built a giant White House and blew it up. All the city destroyers, the attack fighters, the the jet planes, the mothership, like all of those things are these giant models. And one of my favorite I guess visual tricks that they do for this movie, because when an explosion happens, when fire is expanding outward, heat rises, right? Fire explosions want to go up. They don't want to go left to right. So the way that they actually filmed the the city destroyers blowing up all of these buildings, they built these giant models of like the Empire State Building and these city blocks, and they put them on essentially on a wall. Like they took them from being right side up, and I want to say like over past 90 degrees, like just tilted them so that when the explosion happened, the fire had nowhere to go but up the ramp of this like upside down street, so that, and then they just filmed it like attached to the city block and or to the Empire State Building. And they just literally tilted the models in such a way that when the explosions were happening, it would come towards the camera in the direction that they wanted it to. Just like ingenious little like practical effect things like that make this movie, like, they give it that touch of realism because these things are real, right? These are real, tangible, physical objects, because the CGI just like wasn't quite there yet. Every once in a while we see some CGI effects, which Mike, you had mentioned off the episode before we started recording, that the CGI parts are not that great in this movie, but everything that's practical and composited in looks so good. And it's the last of an era, right? Like it's the end of an era. And just even in this first act, just having the fire in the sky, and my favorite shot of this entire movie is the first city destroyer in New York coming through the flames of it's basically the jet fuel burning up in the atmosphere, and it finally comes out of the clouds in the sky over Brooklyn, coming towards Manhattan. My favorite shot of the movie. It's so good. It's so, like, that's the shot that like I'll put this movie on all the time, and like Carl and I will watch it all the time. When Carl and I put it on, it's really just an excuse to hang out and chit chat and just kind of like catch up, whatever. But like when that shot happens, I will stop what I'm doing to watch it because I just love that shot so much. Like Act 1 is so like awesome in this movie. It's so good. And it's I don't know, I've always liked the surreal blended with the familiar. And Act 1 just has like just having these giant UFOs just chilling over, for me, home, right? Like it's like, oh, this is so weird and creepy. I like it. So yeah, I mean, Act 1, obviously the tension built and just, oh God, I love this movie.
And it's so fun. So Mike, as you obviously know from, being friends with Joe and I and seeing all the nerdy adventures we get up to, we love going to Ghostbuster filming locations all across Manhattan almost every time I'm visiting Joe. But a couple summers ago, we finally did do a couple of the filming spots for Independence Day. And man, just like standing there, Joe set us up for the exact angle of where that ship came in at that shot he was just talking about over the Brooklyn Bridge and the Manhattan Bridge. And it was just, oh man, it was so freaking cool. And then we walked by the playground where the kids are playing basketball as they watch it come out. Man,
well, it's the same spot. That was
exactly.
That I always appreciate when movies do this, where like it's not just movie magic, where because it's when you go to film on location, especially in Manhattan, you have to kind of do the trick of the camera thing where if you're facing one direction, you're probably going to be filming. If you have to film the opposite direction, you're probably going to be filming blocks away because of depending on, what streets clog up traffic too much. Like it's just there's a lot of like hoops you have to jump through to film on location in Manhattan. But I always appreciate when if they're filming in two different directions, facing two different directions, it's actually the same location. And for that shot, all of those people reacting to the UFO coming out of the sky, they really were right there. So now it's like a baseball field, but back then, because you can judge by looking at the base of the Brooklyn Bridge, and the Manhattan Bridge. You can tell they're all in the backgrounds of those shots. So even though the entire area has been renovated, it's the same spot. It's the same location.
Yeah. And something else Joe and I have done several times, even though we know the answer every time we do it, is we like to calculate because we know the circumference of these city destroyers, right? They're 15 miles wide. And if it's parked over the, right, for Joe in Manhattan, if it's parked over the Empire State Building, Joe figured it out where it's basically the edge of the ship is what, like 1 block from where you live, Joe?
It's like it's right over. It's like I would look out my window and see the edge of it directly above me. It's ridiculous.
It's so cool. Yeah. So yeah, man, Mike, we're invested, buddy.
Oh, listen, guys. The two of you are insane when it comes to this movie, and that's why we're doing this, right? Because I know that you guys absolutely love it, but yeah, yeah, it's funny for me because being in Canada, they're even in like the like let's show shots from around the world and the news and whatever. Canada is just not mentioned at all, and even when they do the world map and they show them over all of the major cities all over the world, you see that like none of them are in Canada.
They moved to Canada. If you give me 1 second, I can pull up. There actually is a canon list of all of the cities that are destroyed over the course of the 3 days. So I am happy to.
I think that they destroy. I think they do destroy Toronto, but I don't think that they ever came for Vancouver. I just don't think that there's enough people and there's no strategic reason to do it. I just always love looking at that and going like, yeah, even aliens don't have a problem with Canadians, right? They're like, we'll just leave it alone.
Actually, Mike, I'm afraid to say that Vancouver was wiped out during the third wave. So there were 3 successful waves, and the intercepted wave is Area 51 is part of that one. But yeah, so Canada, let's see, Toronto was gone in the first wave, Vancouver's gone in the second wave. So the one that came for you went to San Francisco first, then to Seattle, and then to Vancouver. The one that did Toronto first, then Chicago, then Detroit.
It's so funny because like it's just like, yeah, like There's no reason. There's no reason to take out Vancouver, especially in 1996. The population was so low in Vancouver, like it just is a third wave. That's more like a fourth or fifth wave thing. Like go. There are so many other places to do before that. Like I guarantee you, like Sacramento probably had a way higher population. Not to mention the fact that like just the US is going to have way more like military installations near those cities than like, yeah, there is no threat coming out of Vancouver. We're not launching any offensives from here. But I do the same thing with the Hunger Games, where it's like that whenever you see the map of Panem, it stops at the 49th parallel. And so I've always just had the headcanon that like in the Hunger Games, that's just happening in America. That's it. That's it. The rest of the world, like the rest of us are like, just don't go there, guys. Like, and then lo and behold, in 2025, like I think we're on track.
Yeah.
It seems that way, that like eventually they'll trick you guys into thinking that there was some sort of a nuclear war from outside, and you'll all have to live in underground bunkers for a few years, and then slowly come back out, but no contact with the outside world. And the rest of the world will just be sitting there going like, you hear what they're doing to the children in what used to be the United States. But yeah, it's Canada just always gets left out of these things, for the most part. And as a Canadian, I'm always like, yeah, sounds about right. Sounds about right. Just leave us alone. Zombie apocalypse? No, not here. It's too cold for zombies here. Let's see. Is there anything else that I feel like I need to talk about? We talked about Oaken. We kind of talked about Area 51. I think like that is the smartest thing that the movie does, is like that revelation. I remember being in the theater the first time and then being like I Judd Hirsch's character, Julius being like, oh, you got the aliens, the Area 51, and they're like, listen, that's not real. And then
can we talk about that scene for a second? Because
yeah,
oh boy,
absolutely.
am I still pissed off since 1996. You just watched 30. I don't even know what it is. Is it 18 or 36? I can never remember the exact number, but a lot of cities, double digits cities around the world, blown up by aliens. And everybody immediately starts talking down to Judd Hirsch for possibly suggesting Area 51. Oh no, that's silly. Those aliens aren't the real ones. That's just fake. Are you kidding me? Like, it pisses me off so much. Oh, come on, Grandpa, we'll get you to bed. Come on. Shut up. You suck. Everybody in that room sucked.
The funniest thing about watching Resurgence is that he is in that movie as well, and so it makes you look at Independence Day and go like, he's not that old, I guess. Like, he's really not that old. And I haven't looked it up, but I'm sure he's probably like maybe like 60 or something like that in Independence Day, and it's like, but he is treated as like an insane, senile old man a lot of the movie.
But he was aged up in the original Independence Day, right? Because in the original Independence Day, Judd Hirsch himself, not Julius, Judd Hirsch was not that old, right? Didn't they kind of give him the salt and pepper hair and
possibly? Okay. I don't know, but it's just funny because like he's played up in the story as like the sort of this old man that's kind of prone to these conspiracy theories and whatnot. It's like, oh, don't believe him, don't listen to him. But then you look at it and you're like, I actually don't think he's that old. It's not really that old. I think that we are probably older now than Jeff Goldblum is in this film. I think that that's probably reality. But they're adults. Everybody's a grown up, and I still at 40 don't feel like I've hit that yet. Maybe it's all of the action figures on my desk that are staring at me right now that make me feel that way. But or the fact that I, like you guys, am obsessed with these movies from when we were 10, 11, 12 years old, and just continue to live in that headspace and refuse to grow up. But the Area 51 component of it, and that just being like woven into the lore of the movie is just such a clever thing to do, because you don't have to do a lot of work. It's very similar to what they do in the Indiana Jones movies, the ones that work for people, right? With Raiders and Last Crusade. I think one of the big reasons for that, and one of the reasons why the other three don't necessarily connect as well, is because when you bring up the Ark of the Covenant or you bring up the Holy Grail, most of the people that movie is geared at have a familiarity with it, right? They might not know the finer details. And so, you can embellish and you can go off the rails in certain areas if you want to. But like, if you were raised Christian, you generally understand the concept of the Ark of the Covenant, right? And you generally understand the concept of the Holy Grail. And if you're a King Arthur fan, then you're gonna have a little bit of that. So it's there are these like really easy MacGuffins that you can put into a movie and go like, shorthand. It's the Holy Grail. Oh, okay, so Knights Templar, like Arthurian legend, all of that stuff. And it's all right there, and you don't have to spend a lot of time talking about it. And Area 51 is very similar in this movie, where they're like, oh yeah, we got the ship and we got the aliens at Area 51. And so you're already like, you're primed. The second that the movie tells you that Area 51 is real, everything that happens after that, like the ceiling on the suspension of disbelief has been lifted, right? Because like, we don't have to, there's no exposition required. We don't have to justify that we have these aliens or this ship. So in the third act, when we're flying the ship into the mothership, it's like, just simply using Area 51 has done so much of the work for the audience, of them having to like believe that this is happening. Because like, oh yeah, they've been working on this since the 50s, so clearly they know how this ship is going to work. They've retrofitted it and put the seats in already. None of that work has to be done. It's good to go. As soon as it turns on, they're good to fly it. The only part of that you then kind of like look a little bit sideways at is when Will Smith is like, I've seen how these things maneuver. Yeah. I think I can do it. And you're like, I don't think that's how learning to fly a plane works. I think that we've all seen Top Gun. It doesn't mean we know how to fly jets. Like, like, thank you, Will Smith. But as much as, you want to be an astronaut, being an astronaut, first of all, like, let's be super clear about something. In 1996, being an astronaut is not about flying anything. Being an astronaut is about being a scientist who's going to go up into space and perform experiments, right? The training for being an astronaut is like physical endurance and then like specific operations of like life support systems and stuff. Like, it's so not about like being a fighter pilot. but that's fine. That's fine. Somebody does pilot the shuttle when it comes back down, right? But you have to land it. But like, being able to fly a jet fighter through a canyon is not a prerequisite for being an astronaut. So just the way that they treat that is really funny to me. But and then just like, I know how to fly this thing because I saw it. It's definitely, it's like saying that you can race a car because you play Grand Theft Auto. It's like, these are not related things, guys. These are not related things. But it's fine. We don't need to worry about it too much. But I also just have to point out, other than Steven Hiller and then a bunch of drunks and the president at the end of the movie, the actual fighter pilots in this movie, they all suck. Like,
I agree.
They get their butts handed to them so fast. And then I his wingman, who is supposed to, if he's this great pilot, then we're supposed to believe that his wingman is also going to be a great pilot. I don't know what it is that he thinks he's doing when he gets himself killed, but it is the most like goof up moment in the movie. He's like, I got an idea, and then he does a thing, and then he's like, I can't breathe, and he takes his oxygen mask off, and it's like, well, if you can't breathe, why are you taking off the apparatus that helps you maintain that ability when you're in the fighter? But that's fine. It's cool, because 2 seconds later he gets blown up anyways. Yeah. not good.
This is
I mean,
upsetting,
like,
Carl, Jimmy.
I'm sure it
is his guy. It's his
Listen,
favorite
Jimmy is the greatest fighter pilot that has ever lived, Mr. Cohen. So,
He didn't live very long.
Yeah. Wow. Hey, why we find ourselves on this mission, we will never know. But I do know that here today, the Black Knights will emerge victorious once again.
The whole time he's doing that, and he's like just going off with all this nonsense constantly in that first act of the movie, just like chatter. All I think is Red Leader in A New Hope, and like Wedge says it's like 4 words. Like, how many is it? Look at the size of that thing. 7 words. Like, is that's all. Wedge is just like, look at the size of that thing, and Red Leader's like, cut the chatter, Red 3. Like, it's just like he barely said anything, but he's like, no, this is
Well, Jimmy said even less. All he says is, "Holy God."
Holy God.
No, but before, I mean, like in the lead up, he's just like, he's got like soliloquies and monologues and his little impressions and whatnot, and I'm just like, somebody would be saying like, hey, you're in a military operation right now, keep the line
clear. Joe hates that stuff too.
Shut up.
Like, can you imagine anyone after 9/11 like fooling around and goofing off during mission briefing? Like, no, everybody you know is dead right now, and you're pretending to be a Baptist preacher for some reason. I don't know. It drove me crazy.
It's so weird that they take their mascot up in the air with them. Like I just leave Snarfy the cuddle pants on the ground, and like the fighter pilots fly the planes. But it's not just him. It's not just Jimmy. It is also like as they find out that there's the shields or whatever, and they're pulling up, and the one guy's like, I don't know what it is that he shouts. Maybe you guys do, but he has some sort of a mechanical problem with his plane, and it's like, I thought the US military was supposed to be like the elite fighting force. That plane can't pull up in time. The last missile that they've got is like jammed on the ship. Like guys, can we please do some maintenance checks on these planes before we take them into battle?
To be fair, they're down to 18% by that last fight.
Sure.
So, and also, I just want to point out the malfunctioning rocket on Russell Case's fighter at the end of the film is only because of Sebulba. Okay?
Right.
Sebulba effed with something on it. So whenever Joe and I watch it, I'm like, Joe, it's the Sebulba moment. Doom, 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 doom. He starts singing the pod race music.
He's just gotta flick the switch up and down.
Yeah.
Just flick it up, and man, Anakin's such a great pilot. All he does is toggle switches up and down over and over until something just fixes itself. Anyways.
One fun tidbit though I want to point out, because I don't want to interrupt while we were talking about Area 51. Originally, this film was going to be supported by the United States Armed Forces, specifically the Air Force, and they were going to supply jets and stuff to have on the tarmac for all of the scenes. And they made one request. They wanted any and all mention of Area 51 removed from the film. And they were like, we can't. That's literally like...
It's the core of the plot,
actually. 2 of the 3 acts of this film take place with Area 51. So because of that, they did not. So I just always thought that was very interesting that they were like, we can't support this movie if you acknowledge Area 51 in it.
It's one of the best lines in the movie is when President Whitmore's like why was I never told about this, and then Wormtongue, whatever his name is, the CIA guy.
Oh, Mr. Nimzig.
He leans in and he's like, 2 words, Mr. President: plausible deniability. And it's just like, it's so funny because Area 51 is one of those things where it's like, case in point, what you just said, Joe, of them being like, listen, we'll give you guys all this stuff, but you cannot by any at all, 0 mention of Area 51. And it's like, yeah, cool. So Area 51's totally not real then, right? Because like if it was real, then you guys wouldn't care about. Oh no, wait. It is the lady doth protest too much. It's like, yeah, no. I don't know that there are aliens at Area 51. I don't know what they have at Area 51, but Area 51 is clearly real, and it's clearly a top secret base where they do all of their experimentation and like experimental propulsion and stuff like that they don't want people to know about. But it's so funny to me whenever you get that of the American government being like, we emphatically deny the existence of Area 51, and it's like, really? Because like, what is that Air Force base there then? We don't talk about it.
Don't worry about it.
Okay, all right, that's fine. And like Area 51 still a thing, still there, still a thing, but
yeah, they've had quite a few decades to do something about it. I just chose not to.
Yeah. Let's take a poll. Let's take an informal poll of this podcasting crew. Who here believes that there are aliens at Area 51? Karl, do you believe it?
I don't not believe it. So that's kind of a cop out.
Yeah.
Conspiracy theories make me uncomfortable because I think they create a lot of lunatics. I do. So let me break this down, Mike. You're asking a fun question, and I'm not going to have fun with it, so I apologize. But no, I mean, I'm not going to have fun in the way you're obviously asking. I think Area 51 absolutely is a secret military base. Do they have aliens there? I don't know. Maybe not like actual alien bodies, but do they potentially have access to something that they don't want us to know about? Yeah, I think they might. So I don't know. Yeah, that's my answer. Joe.
Not aliens, government secrets for sure. What is there? I have no idea. But obviously it's very sensitive. Otherwise they would have, I mean, exactly what Mike said, the whole plausible deniability thing.
What about you, Mike?
So I choose to believe that there are aliens at Area 51, not because there's evidence, not because I think that the American government is duplicitous and sneaky and conniving and generally evil at its core. I mean, like, I do believe all of those things, but I don't believe that that's that's not why I believe that there are aliens at Area 51. I choose to believe that there are aliens at Area 51 because I just want to live in a world where that is the possibility. And there are a lot of things in life where I say that. It's like that all of the evidence points to the contrary, that Bigfoot is real, right? The most famous footage of Bigfoot is a hoax. No one's ever found one. We have no actual physical evidence. There, Destination Truth would have you believe that there's a piece of fur from a Yeti somewhere. Then people are like, well, it doesn't match the DNA of anything that we know about. And it's like, it could be anything. There's a million reasons for why a piece of fur would have like degraded DNA that doesn't match anything. Not that it's from a mythical creature. But aliens, cryptids, all of that stuff, I just choose to believe that it's real because I just think that it makes life more fun if you're like, yeah, man, Bigfoot, yeah, Yetis, yeah,
Mothman,
Ogopogo, Mothman. Now Mothman is legit. Mothman, there's a lot of evidence. There's Mothman's legit, but
my mistake.
Yeah, and we listen. That's a off the record episode.
Is this?
To go into Mothman.
I didn't realize there was that much to him. I've watched the new Unsolved Mysteries episode on him, and I'm not sold.
Mothman could be a cryptid. It could be an angel if you want to go the faith-based avenue of it. It could be an alien. It could be an extra dimensional being. There's all sorts of.
Could be Karl. I've never seen the two of them in the same place at the same time.
That's true.
I've long suspected actually that it is Karl, and that's why I'm friends with Karl, because I'm just waiting.
You've also never seen Batman and myself in the same room, so
the Batman is Mothman is Karl, confirmed. Yeah, no. So I don't know. Obviously, Area 51 is a place where they do experimental stuff that they don't want the rest of the world to know about. It's in the middle of the desert. It seems like a good place to do that in the age of camera phones and whatnot. It's harder to keep secrets like that. So
also hard to keep secrets when you got a big mouth in the presidency. So
well, listen, they definitely don't tell him about a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I can guarantee there are things they do not tell that man because he is so stupid.
And it's really simple to keep a secret from Donald Trump. You just write it down.
Yep.
Because if you write it down, he'll never know. Even if he can read, which there's a lot of evidence to assert the fact that he can't.
Certainly can't write.
He doesn't. He chooses not to. So in the way that I choose to believe that aliens are real, I think that Donald Trump chooses to believe that reading makes you gay, and so he's terrified of it.
That's how that happened. Okay.
Yeah. Listen, can confirm reading does make you gay, and that's why we should all be reading more because it's fine. It's great. Independence Day resurgence. One of the only good things that it does, in my opinion, is that like when you bring back Oaken, his boyfriend, husband, they never make it clear exactly, but like his partner is a main part of that storyline, and you're like, okay, cool. So retroactively, there's a main character in the first Independence Day is gay. None of that was in Silent Zone. It's very interesting. They need to go back and do Silent Zone special edition where they change just a couple of things. It wouldn't take much. He really is legitimately my favorite character in this let's call it a franchise. Just simply for the fact that it's Brent Spiner and I love Star Trek The Next Generation and Data and all of that. But anything else? Is there anything else that we need to hit on? I think we've hit most of it. I'm Fly, I'm Pilot is one of my favorite lines in a movie ever. I just need to. I'm Fly, I'm Pilot. Like it is possibly the line that I quote the most, and when I do, no one understands what I'm talking about. Like, because it's one of those things where it's just one of those weird word associations. Like somebody will say something like about like like here's a great example. The Rise of Skywalker trailer comes out, and it's like they fly now, right? And it's like everybody else hears that line of dialogue and gets concerned with the like there were flying clone troopers forever. Like this is not a new thing. Jetpacks are not exciting in Star Wars. That's actually quite mundane in Star Wars. That's where everybody else goes with it. I immediately go to Randy Quaid. I'm Fly, I'm Pilot. I don't know why. It's just like the delivery of that line is just one of my favorite in the history of cinema. It is one of the most convincing drunk deliveries ever, because it's like in the closed captions he says, I can fly. Yeah. I am a pilot.
That's not what he says.
But it's not what he says at all. Maybe that is what's in the script, but Randy Quaid made a decision on the day or was legitimately drunk. And like, if you know anything about Randy Quaid, he definitely believes there are aliens at Area 51, and that they have probed him. He's not acting in this film, by the way. This is just Randy Quaid. So perfect. It's so perfect. I love it so much.
To be fair, I've watched that movie a zillion times, and I can slightly hear I apostrophe N fly. I can fly. I'm Pilot. Yeah. So it kind of is saying I can fly, but it's so like quick and slurred and drunk that it is more like I fly, I'm Pilot.
Yeah. But it's just that's why it's perfect. Because it's like, because we could debate for an hour exactly what he's trying to say, but it doesn't matter because like we get it. Yeah. Like we get it. It's just so perfect in that moment. The end of the world is coming, and they're so desperate that this absolutely drunk off his ass pilot is gonna be the thing that saves us. Like, it's the American dream, you guys. I love it. I love that so much. There are so many lines in this movie. Will Smith has no dialogue in the film, only catchphrases.
To
the extent that like he repeats one of them, the you know me, I like to make a big entrance or whatever. Like he says it, and then like 5 minutes later in the movie, it comes up again, and she like cuts him off, and she's like, "Yeah, I know you won't stop saying catchphrases. Knock it off. You are not Arnold Schwarzenegger."
You know
and
what,
yet
though?
it totally works for the character.
The fat lady thing too, and the same thing happens with David. Shut up with the fat lady. You're obsessed with the fat lady.
Oh, it's so good. I love it when the movie points out how obnoxious a character trait is. But it's played as charming in this, and it works. So with that, I will ask you guys, what are your favorite lines from this movie? Carl, you got to have one locked and loaded for me.
We will not go quietly into the night. I love that from his speech. I love everything Jimmy says because he's perfect and he's the best pilot ever.
Sure.
But I specifically like, the Black Knights will emerge victorious once again. And I think those are my definitely go-tos.
Joe, what do you got?
This isn't going to be a satisfying answer for anyone. This is my favorite line because of through the millions of times I've watched this with Carl and our friend Jazz too a few times. The line that I always build up to be really obnoxious is, "It's coming from the moon," because it's just like so overly dramatic with the music swelling. It's like just that because of really nothing else, just meta, silly, being ironic and stupid.
Yeah. On that note, the line "must go faster" from Jeff Goldblum being in this film as a direct reference to him saying the line "must go faster" in Jurassic Park is just like that. Anytime somebody wants to like actually tell me that this movie isn't good, doesn't happen very often, but every once in a while you get somebody who's like very self-serious or like, like a film snob, and that starts to tell you that actually Independence Day is a bad movie. I was be like, he literally references another famous line from another blockbuster that he's in. That's the tone that we're at in this movie. And like, and this is late in the film. Like this is in the last, like, what, 15 minutes of the movie. So like it's really at the point in the movie, and I think that it's there at that point in the movie because it's like, well, if you're still here, anything goes. Like we can have a line from Jurassic Park now, and I think that that's totally fine. And like, it's just there are things to take seriously in this movie, and there are things to absolutely never take seriously in this movie. But the idea that this movie is bad in any way, shape, or form, other than its inherent 90s misogyny, like literally the only criticism that I can have is that like Roland Emmerich must not think highly of women, right? But like that's it. Him and every other director in the 90s. So like what's the big deal? But I again, I say that as a man. So to me, it's like, yeah, I have a lot of characters on screen that I can go, yay. A lot of women are going to watch this movie and go, so I can be a mom, because every woman in this movie is a mom. Even the ones that aren't moms, they're still moms. It's just, if you're a woman, you're a mom or you're dead. It's the Disney approach. But like that is literally, like, to me, the only actual complaint that you can level at this film. And if that's it, that's a good movie. I think that's a good movie. It's not an unserious complaint, but it's like, yeah, it's the 90s, like, what are you gonna do? It was 1996. Roland Emmerich, like, I wasn't expecting it to be feminist. I wouldn't expect anything from this point in time to be feminist unless it was specifically a feminist movie. So yeah, the sad thing is that Resurgence really doesn't improve that. Like that's where I think you could spend more time being critical of of an Independence Day film, is going like, yeah, but then when you make the sequel in 2016, why is that one also like, men will save the day, men only will save the day? Because even when the president's daughter from this film gets in a fighter plane and shoots at the queen, and that she still like doesn't really do anything. She just kind of like hits it with some blobbies, and then the shield goes down, and then everybody else saves the day. Like, it's still not her that saves the day. Anyways, I said we wouldn't talk that much about Resurgence, and I keep bringing it up, but only because I just watched it. And I'm just baffled at how bad it is in comparison to this absolutely perfect film. Yeah, I don't know. I got nothing else to say about it. I think that's all of the stuff. The ships are the raddest designs. They're perfect. I like that they're just a bunch of Death Star dishes attacking Earth. Star Fox 64 recreates the iconic moments from this movie and lets you play them out, which I think is just so great. And I can remember arguing with people at the time where they're like, no, they didn't copy Independence Day. I'm like, listen, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I actually think it's rad, and that's my favorite level in Star Fox 64.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's iconic. This movie is iconic, and it's called homage. Look it up. I don't know. Last call, guys.
No, I'm good.
What do you think?
I love this movie. I'm good. I'm probably gonna watch it after this.
I have had the VHS on in the background as we've been recording, so yeah,
Of course you have. You have a functioning VCR, Carl?
Yeah, thanks to Joe Hogan.
That's amazing.
I've been wanting, I'd been wanting for years to be able to watch my old Star Wars VHS tapes, and my mom and stepdad had like 6 VCRs at their house, and luckily I didn't use any of my Star Wars tapes to test them. I tested every one of them, and everyone ate the tape. And then like 2 years later, Joe was like, "Hey, my mom found one in the basement, and it works. It's got a DVD player in it too." But I only used the VCR. Oh man, it's so good.
That's wild. Awesome. Well, I think that's it. I mean, if we're talking about VCRs, I think we're done. I think we did it. I think we talked about everything that we need to talk about on this. I know that we could just talk about it. We just I could bring up a scene and then we could go into it for another 45 minutes. But we're almost at 2 hours. So I think that's good. I think we did it. I think we perfect 10'd Independence Day. Not that it needed much help. I don't think we're convincing anybody. I think everybody is just nodding along in agreement with everything except for Carl's opinion about Jimmy. But I listen, Carl, if that's the hill you want to die on, then by all means, I'll give you the shovel and you can dig your grave.
He wasn't. It was. I'm trying to remember who was originally cast for that role, but they ended up having to back out kind of last minute. And Harry Connick Jr. was brought in kind of quickly. I love Harry Connick Jr. as a singer. Like he does lots of really great music. So like when he even sings that line, "Oh, I've got it right here," yeah, it's like, oh man, he's so great. I love him. Yeah,
I hate Jimmy so much.
I know you do. Yeah, that's one thing. Every time we watch this movie, Joe's like, "Oh, listen to him being silly about all these dead people." I'm like, "Listen, he's bringing some levity to a very bleak situation. I appreciate it."
Maybe not the time.
You know
Jimmy
what?
And Carl.
Oh, listen. Oh, okay. You want to be bleak like Andor and just everything sucks? Go ahead. That's not why I came to Independence Day. I came for Jimmy and his optimism.
Yeah, you did.
Awesome. And the amount of times though we would quote put your mask back on, Marine, during COVID was,
obnoxious. Even for us, it was
obnoxious. And one final quote though that Joe and I use all the time is open the door.
Open the door.
Just the way Bill Pullman delivers some of his lines are so funny to me. He's got like this smoky voice to him.
Yeah. Everything with him is like 10 times more dramatic than it needs to be. It's so good. Awesome. See, this is what I'm saying. Like we're gonna get stuck. We're gonna go right back into it in another 45 minutes. But
Mike needs to end the podcast.
That is it. I listen. If you want to hear Joe talk about other stuff, I think you guys know where to do that because it's on other Thunderquack podcasts. And the same goes for Karl, because Wampa's Lair is now a Thunderquack podcast. It has been for a little bit over a year now. But Karl, where else can people find you on the internet? Nobody wants to find Joe on the internet, so we never talk about it. But Karl, where can people find you on the internet?
Yeah, I mean, you can find all the Wampa's Lair stuff by simply searching Wampa's Lair anywhere, but primarily on Instagram at Wampa's Lair and YouTube Wampa's Lair podcast.
Awesome. And definitely go do that. You guys just put out an episode about the micro series.
We sure did.
The Clone Wars micro series, which is a great topic. One of the best things in Star Wars. And Joe, you're on that episode. So
I got to podcast with Joe 2 nights in a row. What a delight.
I will have podcasted with Joe 3 times this week by the time that we're done tomorrow. So so I got you beat.
All right.
But that's
Mom, Dad, don't fight over me. I love you both.
I get them for the long weekend. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for listening to Thunderquack Perfect 10. You can join the conversation over on our Discord server at thunderquack.com/Discord. And if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast service and leave a rating and review. And until next time, remember, it's not about the score. It's about the love. Stay frosty. Thunderquack Perfect 10 is hosted by me, Michael Cohen. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at TQPerfect10 and join the community at thunderquack.com/Discord. This podcast is supported by listeners just like you over at patreon.com/Thunderquack. Head over there to get early access to episodes, exclusive podcasts, and more. This show is a part of the Thunderquack Podcast Network. Head over to thunderquack.com for more great shows. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next one.